Hey guys, Master Shiny here, come before the video. If you guys want to see more of these in the future, make sure to drop it down in the comments below. And if you guys are not already subscribed to the channel, it helps out a lot. Discord's going to be the top link in the description. And this is something a little bit different, so I hope you guys enjoy it. Hey, what's up guys, Master Shiny here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be going over the ultimate $5 CSGO loadout. I'm super excited to bring you guys this one, and let's hop on into it here. Starting off here at the pistols, we are going to be going with the Glock 18 Bunsen burner, and this is a pistol that you're definitely going to be using a lot in the Glock, so I wanted to go a little bit more expensive, coming in at around 18 cents, which is just a little bit over the average for the price of a skin here. The Glock 18 Bunsen burner, I like the flame on the end of it, and that's the main draw the skin has to it. Next up here we have the Dual Berettas Shred, coming in for field tested, only 14 cents. I do like the blue stripe it has on it, but that's really all this skin has to offer. Not a ton of good dually skins for cheap, but I think the Shreds are about as good as you're gonna get. Next up here we have the P250 Valence. It is going to be coming in at around 13 cents, and very similar to the past two, it's kind of a blue theme. Not really what we're really going for in this inventory, but it's kind of a nice fit for the pistols. For our Tech 9 skin, I went with the Cracked Opal here. It kind of fits the blue theme we got going so far, and for only 9 cents, you're not going to be able to find a Tech 9 that really looks better than it. I think the blue, kind of neon blue, really fits it well. To round off our T-sided pistols here, we have the Desert Eagle, and it is one of the better looking Desert Eagles in my opinion. There's not too many Desert Eagles that I particularly like, but I do like this one just because it does have a design on the tip. Starting off our CT sided pistols here, we have the P2000 Urban Hazard, and it's going to come in around 8 or 9 cents here. There's not a ton of good P2000 skins for cheap, and the Urban Hazard does have a little bit of design on it, which is something you're not going to really get for a lot of those cheaper skins. Here we have the USP lead conduit, coming in for around 64 cents. It's one of the more expensive pistols on the list, actually the most expensive. But for USPs, there's not a lot of options for cheap USPs. The lead conduit is one of the cheaper ones, but it still has a pretty good look to it, especially with the silencer there. For our CZ here, not too much to say. It's the CZ imprint, coming in for around 10 cents. It's got a little bit of a unique design on it, but overall CZs aren't going to be having the most design on them. For 10 cents though, you're going to be getting a decent amount of bang for your buck. Alright, finally here to round off our pistols, we have the R8 Revolver Knight, and this is a very good deal. You can get a R8 Revolver Knight here. This is field tested. It's got a pretty low float, but it actually looks pretty spotless for field tested, and you can get this for only 8 or 9 cents. It's a complete steal for the R8 skin, especially for how clean it looks. Moving on into our shotguns here, we're going to be starting off with the Mag 7 Heaven Guard. This comes in field tested. It's only around 12 or 13 cents. If you do not like the look of this and you want a little bit more minimalistic, you can opt for the Mag 7 Storm. But the Heaven Guard has a little bit more design, and for the extra couple cents, I definitely think it's worth it. Next up here, we have the Nova Candy Apple, coming in at field tested, and this is one of the skins where I would definitely suggest you try and get it in a better condition, potentially a minimal wear or a factory new. For 10 cents, it's not the most clean looking, but it's definitely something decent. Next up here, we have the Sawed Off Origami, coming in for around the same price of 10 or 11 cents. This is one where you should definitely try and get a lower float value in the field tested if possible, just because it has a couple specs on top of the skin, but otherwise a pretty clean skin. Finally here to round off the skins for the shotguns, we have the XM1014 Blue Steel, and this is one of the skins where most of them start looking the same around the smaller price range. And I went with the Blue Steel just to save a couple cents here. You can try and upgrade to a better skin for around 10 cents extra, but to me they all feel pretty much the same, especially with the XM1014. Moving on into our SMGs here, we have the PP Bison Runic, and this is only going to cost you around 10 cents. It's one of the better looking PP Bisons, as I think it's got a minimalistic look, but at the same time it also has some detail if you look into it, especially with the orange writing on there. That's the main draw for me. Next up here we have the Mac 10 Oceanic, and this is coming in for around 10 cents as well. To me, on the Mac 10, it's a lot more important to make sure you're getting a high float value comparatively to the actual skin on it. And for that, I went and got this one in minimal wear. I think it's definitely one that actually has a pretty nice design on it for 10 cents. For the MP7 here, I went with the Urban Hazard, coming in for around that same price range of 10 to 12 cents. It's a skin that's personally meant a lot to me. I think it's definitely one of the better looking skins for the MP7 with the orange top there if you're able to get a lower float value for it. For the MP5 SD, I went ahead and went with the Condition 0 in Battle Scarred here. It's one that I think if you wait a couple more days, or at least a week or two, you're definitely going to be able to get a better wear on it for the same price, as it's coming from the Operation Broken Fang case. And as more of these get unboxed, you should be able to get a better deal on it. For the P90 here, I went with the P90 Traction for only 12 cents. It's one of the better looking P90s, and I think it's definitely one of the better looking P90s for the reason that it covers the entire skin with the entirety of blue. I think that's something that most of the P90 skins are lacking, is they are not very bright and outgoing, and I feel like this skin is pretty much the opposite of that. For our UMP here, I went with the UMP 45 Urban DD-Pat, and that's because it's a little bit on the cheaper end, and it's one that I don't think actually makes too much of a difference, the skin on it. It still looks pretty decent to me for only 4 cents. It's one of the cheaper options, and I think it's one that actually looks pretty decent as well. Finally, to round off our SMGs here, I went with the MP9 Deadly Poison for only 13 cents. Battle Scarred does not look bad on it. Battle Scarred here actually looks about the same as Field Tested and Minimal Wear in my opinion. And it's a way you're able to save a couple cents. It's definitely... The MP9 is definitely a skin that I use a lot, and I think the Deadly Poison is a pretty good skin for it. Moving on into our rifles here. First up, we got the M4A1S Flashback. This is going to be the only restricted skin on here, but coming in for around 70 cents. It's not terrible, but it is over 10% of our budget, so we're not going to be looking for too many of these skins. Overall, M4A1S, not a ton of options. On the flip side of that, we have the M4A4 Magnesium, and this is going to be coming in for around 28 cents. And this is personally a skin I use a lot. I think it's one of the best budget M4A4 skins, and I do like the flames on it a lot. I think it's personally undervalued at only 28 cents. Especially for how clean it's looking in field tested. Next up here for the FAMAS, I went with the FAMAS Decommissioned. It's one of the more bland FAMAS skins, but the FAMAS is not one that has a lot of flashy skins for cheap, and the color combination on this gives it a nice minimalistic look. Next up here we have the AUG, and one of my personal favorites. For only 9 cents in field tested, you can get the AUG Tomcat, and it's one of the best looking AUGs for cheap. I mean, look at this, the amount of design on it. It should not be a 9-cent skin, but it is, and it's definitely something you should be adding to your inventory. For the Galil here, I am not gonna lie, I kind of went pretty cheap with it. The Galil Stage Spray coming in for only 4 cents here. It's a pretty bland skin, but we had to save some money somewhere, and I did not think spending 30 cents on a good Galil skin was the best use of money here. I do like the amount of darkening on the magazine there, but that's pretty much all this skin really has to offer. For the SG here, I went with Ol Rusty for 10 cents. Not too much going on this skin, but it is having a nice rustic look, which is something that can, when done right, looks really good. It's not like a rust coat type rust, but it's something that I think definitely adds more to the skin than it takes away. Finally, to finish off our rifles here, I went with the AK-47 Uncharted. This is going to be around 45 cents, and it's one that you could either go with this or the Elite build if you're looking for a decent AK skin, and I think the Uncharted has a little bit more to offer for a little bit cheaper. Moving on into our heavies here, we have the M249, and it is the Gator Mesh. Not a ton to say for this one. It's a pretty decent skin for the price. You're not going to be looking at a ton of great skins for the M249 as it's not the most common item, but overall it's got a nice pixelated look, and that's about the best you're going to get for the M249. The Negev on the other hand is a little bit different. You're going to be able to get the Negev Dazzle for only about 9 cents, and there's a lot going on this skin. It's one of the best looking Negev skins for super cheap. And if you're able to pay a little extra money to get it in minimal wear, you'll be able to get rid of those black scratches on it, and it looks a lot better then. But still field tested here, it does look pretty nice in my opinion. Moving on into our sniper rifles here, I went with the Scout, and that is the SSG 08 mainframe 001 in well worn. Now this skin does not have a lot of differences between the well worn and the factory new. And for that reason I got it in well worn. It was just the cheapest one on the market. But I like the amount of design that goes into this skin, and I think it's definitely something that is a little bit undervalued at the current moment. Moving into our T-side auto here, the G3 SG1, I went with the Polar Camo. Only 4 cents. There's not a lot going on with the G3 SG1 skins. You can either go with this or the Green Apple. I decided to go for this one, save a couple cents. It's only 4 cents, and a minimal wear on it leaves you with few scratches except on the back end, which you're not going to be seeing too much in game. For our CT sided auto here, the Scar 20, I decided to go with the Blueprint in field tested, coming in for only 9 cents. It's actually a pretty decent looking skin. It fills up the entirety of the gun, which is something I really look for. Finally here for our op skin, I decided to go with the AWP Capillary, and for 40 cents you're not going to be finding much better of an op than this one. I think it's definitely got a pretty unique design on it, and for 40 cents in field tested condition, there's not a ton of marks on it, only near the back corner there. But otherwise, it's actually a pretty decent op in my opinion. Definitely something I would pick up if you're not looking to spend too much of an op. But otherwise guys, that is all I have for today. I hope you have all enjoyed. This is something a little bit different, and if you want to see more themed inventories in the future, potentially a color or a different price point, we could definitely do that. Make sure to drop it down in the comments below. And if you're not already subscribed, it helps out the channel a lot. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you all next time.